Morning everyone, welcome to my first ever SAA workshop. And morning everyone online who's watching. Today's painting is a couple reading that I took in Tenerife about a couple of years ago. It's a beautiful sunny day, both reading on their e-readers, no newspapers anymore. We've all seen it, we've all done it. The first part of the workshop we're going to be tracing down the image onto our watercolour paper. Now I know a lot of people never traced down before, but we'll be using tracing down paper, and you want to use the black side down. Don't do it the other way around, you'll be wasting your time. Okay? First of all, get your masking tape and tape the top part of your image that we're tracing down just along the top in position. The reason that we do this is once we're tracing down, it's a complicated image to trace down. We're going to be checking every so often that we are actually pressing hard enough. If you're not pressing hard enough, you come to the end of you've been doing it for 20 minutes, you lift it up and you've got nothing there. It's very disappointing. So first of all, I want everybody to do this, what I've just done. Tape your image down just at the top. Put your tracing down paper underneath. Use a hard pencil, just an H. And I'm just going to start just putting the corners in, so I know whereabouts on the paper the image is. So I'm going to put masking tape around the image before we start painting. So when we finish the painting, we can lift the masking tape off and have a nice frame. So I'm just penciling the corners. Checking it's in the right position. Is everybody ready to start?
Well, there isn't a frame.
We haven't got corners in our image.
Well, just make sure it's square. Is everybody ready to start?
Yep.
Okay, we're going to start on the guy's head. Now, I've done this painting 5 times this week, so on Tuesday and Wednesday. So I know the best way to trace. I'll just trace the head first and then check everything's tracing down okay. I've pressed quite hard with the pencil, and as you can see, can you see that? It's quite, that's about the right pressure I've been pressing down, so I know that I can continue now. I'll go straight down the outside of his arm. And all these pencil lines are all indicating where the shadows are, where the highlights are. So they're all very important shapes that we're going to be painting later on, so you need to make sure that they're all properly outlined. And at the end of the painting, anything that's showing, we can always use a putty rub and just rub them out. Now can everybody just check their own drawing, see if it's coming through okay? Has nobody got it the wrong way around, have they? No? Okay, I'm just up to the guy's little book he's reading, his e-reader.
Are you doing the detail, right?
Yeah, I'm just doing all the lines. Just outline the, see on his t-shirt, the blue shape, that's one outline. that links his head to the shadow. The other shape is a shadow under his arm. And a little shape on his t-shirt, and then shadow on his top of his arm, and the shadow where his watch is, and a little shadow on his hand and his thumb into his leg. His sock, he's taking his shoes off. It was quite a hot day, I remember it. I'm into his other leg now, that nice shape of the shadow on his leg. And just a couple of lines there, and have a look. Just missed a little line under his hand. Just check again. Keep checking on your own drawing, so make sure everything's being put in. I'll just put his trainers in now. And the shadow linking the two figures. Again, from those trainers, I'm just drawing into the bottom of the bench, and that links again to the woman's feet. So we know where we are now. We've done the male figure, the shadow, and the bottom of the bench. You want to draw that. Have a quick check. Now you should all have one figure drawn now, the man. No? Well, you'll have to speed up. I'll just give you a couple of minutes. Yeah, I'll be working from the original photograph myself.
Yeah, I just wanted so we could just see where you show us how to draw your line.
We have. One of the two.
Yeah, you should have a copy of the photograph to paint from.
Sorry, I thought this was one of your paintings.
Okay, I'll start on the woman's head now, on her hat. Again, I'm just pressing down quite heavily, making sure the lines show. Again, if your pencil's getting a bit blunt, just get a pencil sharpener, give it a quick sharpen. Again, have a quick check. Again, I've just missed a little bit off the guy's hand here at the top where it links his watch. That looks fine. I'll just onto the woman's head. It's got nice sunglasses, a little shape, dark shape that indicates her profile. Into the top of her t-shirt, into the back of her head. I'm just drawing right down the back, in one line. Into her arm with a nice shadow under her shirt sleeve, and the nice shape where the highlight's going to form. When we're painting this, Remember, these are the highlights we're going to. I won't be using any masking fluid. We're going to be using just the white of the paper for all these highlights. So we need to indicate where they'll be falling. It's a nice highlight on the top of this line here, on the top of her t-shirt. It's a nice highlight. And again, on the other side, some nice little highlights we need to think about. Again, I'm just onto a reader now. And a hand, little shape into her leg. Just have another quick check. I've missed all that line out, so I'll just draw that outline. I'm just drawing these little shapes now on the folds of her top. Nice shadow shapes on her shorts. Onto the bench. Keep checking, make sure you're picking up all the lines. Onto her big toe now. And the bottom of her shoe links, the shadow shape links to the bottom of the bench. A few little details on her sandals. And that should be the woman all traced down.
No idea. Sorry.
Any questions?
How do you do it so quickly?
I've been doing it all my life. So.
It'd be a good idea to have an actual coloured pencil so that you can see where you're doing it.
Well, it might be a good idea to print it in colour,
Right,
and then. But I know what you mean. You just keep checking. Don't be afraid to press a little bit harder if you think it's not coming through hard enough. How long do you think this would take to do it as a freehand drawing? Would be a week? So that's why we're tracing down, I think. Just another check. I've nearly finished mine, so I'll go and have a coffee and see you later.
Graham, I've just had a message from Jane, and it is 4:42 a.m. in her part of the world, and she's got up early to watch you paint, well, to watch you trace at the moment, but she's looking forward to the workshop.
Good morning, Jane. wherever you are. 4:45 in the morning. Blimey. Just one more little line and I've finished. Just have another quick check. So that's my finished tracing down. Now if you think you've missed any lines out, you can just look at your reference photograph and just pencil in a few more details. I normally use a mechanical pencil for any extra drawing I've got to do, just a soft pencil again. Again, you can, if you want, if any of the tracing downs come off on the part of the paint you didn't want, you just use a rubber, just get rid of any dirty marks. Give it a blow as well, get rid of any dust as well that's come off the tracing down paper.
Graham, we've also got Paula who's watching in New York, and it's 5:45 in the morning for her, so it's a little more respectable, 5:45.
Good morning, Paula. New York, God, a city that never sleeps. Well, we were in New York last year. A fabulous time. And we're back again next year in America. We're going to Texas, California, Seattle, Wisconsin, Missouri, and Michigan up to now. And then in 2021 we're going to Arizona for a workshop. So that's my image traced down. That's taken about 20 minutes. I'm just going to put my masking tape around the image. So once the painting's finished, I can just take the masking tape off. It'll be a nice frame. Just makes the painting look 100 times better already before you even take it to the framers.
Graham, just as a contrast, we've got Lulu who's watching in New Zealand, and it's nearly 10 p.m. there.
Oh, evening, Lulu. I hope Lulu's going to still be watching at 2 o'clock. We'll be checking on you, Lulu. So I'm all ready to paint now. Does anybody need any help with anything? You want a pencil sharpener? Small one. How's everybody doing? Okay? Yeah, looking good. Nearly done. Have a look.
I've got this bottom one. Just got this.
Nearly done, yeah. That's looking good, yeah. Have a look. Yeah. When you put your masking tape down, you just put just along these natural lines, yeah.
Yes.
How are we doing? Have a look. Is it coming through all right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know when you're doing your outlines, are you sort of outlining things or colours?
The shadow, yeah, these shapes, the highlights, the shadows,
highlights
the
and
form,
shadows.
yeah. But some of these will be,
You
there
see, that would
won't
be
be
a
hard
major
edges.
decision,
There won't
see.
be hard edges, there'll be soft edges there.
So you're highlighting even a soft edge.
Yeah, just
Yeah. You could tell us, you know, because that's half the decision is knowing how you did this.
Could you tell me what your paper is?
it's Saunders, I think. Saunders,
Weight?
£300, I think.
£300.
Yeah, no need stretching, so
You do the figures and this as well, and this, everything.
just, yeah, the bench, don't put these lines in. Yeah, some of these lines will be able to they're indicating where the highlights are. And there won't be hard edges. Some of these lines will be soft edges, so you can always just go with a putty rubber and clean up any if you think the line's a bit too dark. Again, I can I can just come in and indicate again some areas that have not come through just with a pencil and just go over a few little areas and just clean up. If you look at your once you've traced it down, have a look at some of the little dust marks. You just go around with a putty rubber and just make a nice point and just go around cleaning up any little dust marks you've got. At the same time, you can just pencil in any areas that you think you might have missed. See, I missed a little bit of this book here, which I'll have to just put in again. Now when we start painting, I just want to go through the first stage of the painting process. We're going to be using the 1-inch flat brush, and we're going to be wetting the paper completely and just using 3 colours for the first wash. It's going to be high value wash using the lemon yellow, the permanent rose and cerulean blue. And we'll just be concentrating on the 2 figures, making it one, really going to be like a nice underpainting. It's going to link all the nice colours together, but leaving all the nice highlights as well. We're going to be using the paper plates to do the big mixes, and As I've said before, I'll be mixing mainly on the paper, not on the palette. So we're going to be working wet into wet, and we can drop in colours. So if I put the yellow on, I want to make it into a flesh colour, I'll just add the permanent rose. And if I want to cool that colour down, I'll add a little cerulean blue into it. Now the first wash I'll probably spend about 15 minutes on. And once I've done that, you'll be doing the first wash, and I'll give you about 30 minutes. And then the next stage after that wash, I'm going to be doing the background using 6 colours, wet into wet. And then the 2 figures we're going to treat as do the man first and then the woman. Oh, here's my coffee. Thank you. Everybody nearly ready? Is everybody online ready? And they might be ahead of us, I don't know. Yeah. Now, who's painted figures before? So it's going to be an adventure then. Just treat it as coloured shapes, shadows, highlights. We'll be there. We'll be all right. We don't want to get bogged down in too many details, but you can just, once you've got the figures in the right position, the right expression, the body language is right. I think I've missed a line out. What was that? Oh. I'm just going to do a final check round. Oh, that'll be it. Just get your masking tape around the edge now. Can you see it all right? Is it okay? Yeah. How are we doing? Everybody nearly ready?
Almost.
Yeah, about 5 minutes. Just darken that line up a bit. We ready to start? Yeah, you're ready. 5 minutes. That looks good, yeah. You happy?
Yep, thank you. Will you go through the colours again when we come to mix them?
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's,
Lemon yellow and this blue.
yeah.
And that red. Yeah, red.
Cerulean.
Cerulean blue, the red and the yellow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Graham, I have a question from Helen who's watching. Helen doesn't have phthalo green. Could you suggest another colour for her, or can she mix a colour that's close to it?
Viridian. Viridian green is an alternative to phthalo green. But I think we'll only be using the green at the end of the painting if we need a really dark mixture, because a lovely dark mix is alizarin crimson with a viridian or a phthalo green, and we'll be using that as at the very last part of the painting, just on the background wall, just around the figures. So we're not sure, we might not need it, might not even need it today. Some of the paintings I've done this week are mainly just 6 colours. I think the only one I did use 8 colours was on these two. They're a little bit darker. Right, I'm ready to start painting now. I'm just going to go through again the colours I'll be using for this first wash. I'm going to be using the lemon yellow, the red or the permanent rose, and the cerulean blue. It's the cooler blue, the greenier blue on your palette.
Right.
First thing we're going to do is just soak the paper. Just use your 1-inch brush, plenty of water. Now you wait till I've done this before you do it. I'm going to do this first, and I'm going to spend about 10 minutes doing this, then you can do it, spend about 20 minutes, half an hour on it. But you won't have longer than that, because the paper's going to start drying anyway, and you're going to need to finish. Because I don't want once the paper starts drying, you start getting the hard edges. That's when we're going to stop anyway. But I'm going to concentrate on the 2 figures and preserving the highlights as much as possible. And also I always work with a paper towel in one hand to take off any excess water on the brush and check what colour's on the brush as well. I tend to mix more on the paper and less on the palette. And I clean my brushes regularly. I'm always checking what colours. When I work at home, I normally have 3 water pots. I have a yellow pot, a red pot and a blue pot. But today I'm going to make do with 1. There we are. I've just washed all the drawing off, but never mind. So there's my just check at an angle whether you've got all the paper completely soaked. There's my lemon yellow mix, quite a diluted mix. Again, I've done a clean. See that? Just cleaning all the colour off. Making sure there's no yellow on the brush when I go into the next colour, which is the the permanent rose. Permanent rose. Again, I'm just taking all the colour off the brush before I go into the cerulean blue. It's now 11:05. You can give me a shout at 15:15.
Could you just go through it again for me? So you do.
It's a 3-colour wash, wet into wet, soft edges, high value, just getting all the colours down. It's like an underpainting, so we're thinking about the next colour that's going to be on top of this colour.
So it's extremely diluted.
Yeah, very, very diluted colours. This is the next. Make sure the brush is clean again.
Will the graphite of the paper make it grey?
No, don't brush it too hard like I've done, because you can wash the drawing off. Well, don't blame me.
Why not?
So that's a little cerulean, again a very diluted wash. You can use all your palette for this, for these three mixes. I'm just going to drop in the first colour. See, I'm just waiting for the sheen to go off the paper before I put the first colour in. Already you can feel the top of the paper, it's drying, so I've got to put the first bit of colour in now. Just put some yellow in. Especially on the woman's hat, where that lovely highlight is, into the woman's face, down into her shirt. On the guy's head, his legs. I'm putting round the figure. Again, if you think the highlights, the yellow's bleeding into it, just use a paper towel and just dab any colour that's bled into your highlight. I'm just adding a little bit of the permanent rose now to the yellow for the dropping in some of the flesh tones. Yeah, I'm putting the little bit of the permanent rose with the yellow, just where the flesh tones are. A little bit more pigment, if you think the paper's drying a bit. The back of the bench is lovely, lots of yellow reflections off the woman's t-shirt, so lots of yellow there. Put some red with that where the bench is. Again, if I think I've lost a highlight, just use your paper towel. You can even dampen it a bit, just use it to damp. See that? It's gone and bled a bit too much, I'll just wipe that highlight back. Yeah, you'll be able to should be able to see the shapes showing through now, the figures, a little bit more pigment.
So you can see where you put it on his leg.
This is where the shadow on his leg, a bit more red there, little shadow there, on his hand, his arm, our other arm, our hand, our arm, little shadow underneath that now. Put some more on where her face is. Some more, this is on where the bench is. A little bit of a bit more yellow onto her top, so just where that detail is. I've got 2 minutes. Right, I'm just going to drop in some of the cerulean blue now. Cerulean blue, I'm going to drop it onto his, first of all, this guy's t-shirt, just under his, where the shadow is. Little shadow under his arm there. A little bit of, on her top is some nice blue on her arm and her top as well. The paper's still wet, so I'm dropping some blue where underneath the bench, the nice shadow, so I'm going to drop some nice blue into there. On the final wash, there's going to be lots of cobalt blue into these washes. I forgot to put some nice yellow into where his trainers are. And a little bit of red under where the shadow is. And then drop some cobalt, cerulean blue. Beginning to dry now, so I'm just about finished. So I'll just paint some blue around the guy's foot. As you can see, it's drying. It's obviously drying more because the paper's at an angle. It's drying at the top a lot faster than the bottom. The bottom's still quite wet, so I can add a bit more pigment down at the bottom. Put some blue into her shorts, mixed with a little permanent rose, and would be a nice violet. Same with that little shadow there. Little shadow underneath her leg. Again, I can add some of the permanent rose to the cerulean blue. And I can just drop in some nice wet into wet mixes underneath the bench. A little bit more blue this side. On the shadows, some nice bit more darks. Again, using the 1-inch brush, you can just use the angle of the brush, just tip it, use a nice flat point to any details like the legs on the bench or the shadow, nice shadow like that. Fine, I'll just put some more little shadow detail under these where the shorts are. And that's about it, because it's just beginning to dry now. And just soften a few of these edges. If I think they're a bit hard now, just soften it with a wet damp brush. Just Did nobody tell me? It's 1:15. Right, that's the first wash. Again, like I said, and if you think you've any edges drying a bit hard, just use a damp brush anyway and just soften them. Either now or at the end of the painting, you can soften any edges. Just a little word of warning when you're wetting the paper. Don't rub your drawing out, like I did. So if your drawing's quite faint, you be careful. You can use a plastic palette to mix your 3 colours on. Then if you need a bigger wash, just use your paper plate as well.
Okay. So it's cerulean blue.
Yeah, mix your yellow first. All right. Don't wash your drawing off.
Yeah, I've nearly. Your head is nearly.
Nice pair of strokes.
How do you know when the paper's good to start inking?
Just leave it a minute or two till if it's too wet, and let the sheen go off a bit.
Let the sheen go
Yeah.
off.
Just brush it in a little bit more without brushing the drawing off. Should start with the yellow first rather than.
Pardon?
You should have started with the yellow first rather than, yeah. Yeah, start. Once you've mixed up your 3 colours, the yellow, the permanent rose and the cerulean, we start off with the yellow first. You see on my pit, I start off round the woman's hat, into her top, into the bench. It's a beautiful yellow reflection on the bench of her t-shirt. And all the flesh tone, you can drop in the yellow, then drop in the permanent rose for the basic flesh tone. And the reason we're using the 1-inch brush now is just we don't want to get bogged in any detail. Don't start drawing too much. Just the basic shapes. So once you've put your yellow in, and then you put in your drop some of your red onto your flesh tone, then add the blue the last. And mix, if you want the violet colour, mix it with a little bit of the permanent rose for any the dark tones under the bench. A bit more blue into that. Yeah, it's too wet. A bit more pigment.
You make it very wet, or just sort of medium wet? Because usually to go for a while. Very. I don't want to lose the image.
Did you put lemon yellow on the base
Yeah.
and then put skin tone on top? You did.
Well, just mix it. Put the yellow on first, and add some permanent rose for your flesh tones.
So it's,
Yeah. Start with the yellow there.
yellows on there.
And then put the flesh tones, put some of the pink, the permanent rose mixed with the yellow for the flesh tones.
For the flesh tone, so I'm putting the yellow on there first.
Yeah, then I'd add some of the pink permanent rose. It'll mix on the paper then.
All on wet.
Yeah.
All on wet, thank you.
You don't get too bogged down in too much detail. Put the yellow on for the flesh tones, then drop in the permanent rose. If it's going, give me a bit of, if it's spreading too much at the early stages, just let it just dampen a little bit more. And you can just use a damp brush to.
Oh, right.
Just like this.
Oh, just, you're right, okay.
Just make sure it's.
I think the colour was too strong. Didn't put it in the water in the
Well,
colour, didn't
start a little bit more of the
Yeah.
yellow
Yeah.
like that.
Okay.
Same with that. You want to be keeping that.
Yes. Oh, you want the highlight.
You wanna
absolutely,
keep-
Yes. Oh, yes.
yeah, that
Yes,
is-
yes. Yes,
It's spreading a little bit too much.
yeah.
It's looking all right. Yeah, looking good. Sorry.
To with the face up.
Yeah, just use your damp brush. Just take a bit of it.
Yeah. Thanks.
Trying to make sure that it's not painting by numbers, you know, just soften some of the edges. Don't stick too rigidly to all the lines.
So it's yellow and red together to make the skin tone. Is that
Yeah, put the yellow in, then drop the permanent rose in for the flesh tones. How long before I start the next? I washed all the pencil off. Right, 5 minutes. No? So about 10 minutes. Everybody be finished. That gives me time to redraw my drawing actually. For the next wash anyway, I'll just go through the colours. We're going to be using the same 3 colours we've used for the first wash, but we're adding Quin Gold, the permanent alizarin crimson and the cobalt blue. And the next day we're just going to concentrate on the background behind the figures, so that should be easy, that. Is there anywhere I can plug my hairdryer in? All right. Anybody struggling, need any help? Looking better, yeah. Just make sure that's.
Yes.
Just use a damp bit of towel like that, clean towel. Remember to preserve the highlights, so if the paint's bleeding too much into your highlights, use a bit of paper towel, just dab it, clean it. It's all right. Don't get too bogged down in deep details. So that's fine. Yeah.
Is that enough on there?
Yeah. Yeah.
You're using the highlights, aren't
No, he wants. That's probably a bit too strong. Is that it? Yeah. Now, if you want to speed up the drying process, what I do at home, it's a bit of nostalgia for me as well, using the hairdryer. So, it's when I had a. I do sometimes, you know. So that's, I'm just going to redraw some of mine. Just because the next wash we're just going to concentrate on the background. It's just the edges of the figures that we're going to be painting around. So make sure I've got. And again, like I said, you can just use a damp brush to lift any colour that you think has gone into the highlights a little bit. See where his glasses are. I want a nice white. So I'll just use a damp brush and lift any. Just put in the outline again. I've done this painting so often this week I don't really need the reference photograph. Just paint from memory, I think. There's a lovely shadow on her hat that we're going to enjoy painting. That lovely blue shadow there. She's got sunglasses on, make sure I put them in the right place. How's everybody doing? Are we nearly ready? Don't worry, any mistakes you might have made in this part of the painting, we'll be correcting them as we go along. I've totally lost her sandals, by the way. Let's give it another blast on the air dry, make sure it's totally dry. Okay, in a couple of minutes I'll start the next washes on the background. I'm just going to clean my palette. Actually, to make it easy, we're just going to use the three colours on the background. I'm going to use the darker tones of the three primaries. So we're using the Quin Gold, the Alizarin Crimson and the Cobalt Blue. So it's just your darker versions or the cooler versions of or the warmer versions of the three colours. For this, we're going to be using the round brush again instead of the flat brush. Use your large round brush. I'm using the size 16. It's going to be wet on dry, but then once the paper's wet, we're going to be dropping colours in as we go along. So I could start now with and wet the paper with a little bit of the Quin Gold, then add colours as we go along. So I'm just going to mix up a nice mix of the Quin Gold. Make sure you've got a lot on both palettes, on the plate and on your plastic palette.
It's stronger, is it?
Yeah, stronger mix, but lots of it. Again, use a paper towel to check how much water's on your brush and what colour you've got on the brush. Take all the yellow off the brush before I go into the crimson. I've not started yet, so let me do it before you start. I'm just mixing up 3 puddles of the Quin Gold, Permanent Alizarin Crimson and the Cobalt Blue. Nice juicy puddles, a bit more pigment on these for this background wash. Take all the excess colour off the brush again before I go into the Cobalt Blue. I won't be doing any mixing on the palette. Any mixing will be on the paper now. So once we go in with the Queen Gold, we can just drop in the blues and the reds. What? It's dry. I'm just going to start off now with the. Once I've got the cobalt blue mix on the palette, I'll start the background wash. It's a nice juicy mix again, the cobalt blue. So if you see my palette now, we've got 3 colours. Again, I'll take all the blue off before I go into the Queen Gold for the start of this wash. We're going to use when you use your brush for the big wash, use the belly of the brush. When you get around the edge of the figures, you can use the point of the brush. So it's nearly 11:45. This background should take me 10-15 minutes. So I'll start off with a Queen Gold. Yeah, I'm just going right across the top of the paper with the Queen Gold. You've got a nice bead of water underneath the brush stroke there. Then you can add colours to it. If it's gone too red, drop in the blue. If it's going too blue, drop in some red. This is just a nice wetting the variegated colours, but it's lots of action, lots of pure pigment dropped in at some. Look at that, not lovely blue there. Around the figures, I'm just going to drop in a lovely line of the crimson. Just round, so when the wash meets up to that, it'll soften won't be a hard edge round it, around the hat like that. Now bring that wash down into that lovely crimson. Got to keep the wash wet and moving down the paper. Where you want a nice hard edge, I'm just use the point of the brush and then let the wash just meet up to that. It's gone wanted a bit darker around these figures just to make them stand out a little bit more, so I'm adding lots of cobalt blue into these mixed near the figures. And it's a lovely, enjoyable part of the painting. Just dropping in colours. You're not too worried about what's happening. Just lovely colour mixes. Nothing on the palette's been mixed. It's all been mixed on the paper. And the only critical thing is just to make sure you paint this outline. You can then let the wash just meet up to that. That's his hand and his arm and his t-shirt. Just coming around his... I just want to leave the highlight where his glasses are. That lovely white highlight, you've got to make sure you keep that. And it's just a matter of keeping this wash wet now and adding colours in. Just being careful that, like I said, just around these little highlights around his face. Now I can just use the belly of the brush for this broad wash, lots of water and pigment. Now I've said I've painted this a few times this week and every background is slightly different, but they all work. It's all about bringing these figures to life. It's taking care again around the edge of the figure. Some nice cobalt blue. Clean my brush again, just want to make sure I've got some lovely pure blue just around this edge here. This shadow under the bench, and there's lots of, if you see, look at it, lots of blue, pure cobalt blue, and right on the edge of the shadow, just dropping a lovely line of the crimson. And again, just round that. And you've got to remember this side of the painting as well, just a bit of blues, quin gold, crimsons. So that background there's lots of life in it. So it's a nondescript background really, but it's got lots of movement now with the different colours. Lots of life in it. You don't want to see, the trouble is if you mix a nice, think, oh that's a nice grey, browny, bluey, blacky colour. I've mixed it on the palette, put it down, it'll just be a load of mud on your paper. Now you can still see individual colours on the background. See the reds, the blues. And at the end of today, if we think we need another wash on the background, that's when we might use the phthalo green with the crimson for any really black areas, really dark areas. But some of my paints I've done this week, I've just used the 3 washes. Or the 2 washes, in fact, on the background. I'll just So any questions before we... No, just you work it, mix up your big puddles of each 3 colours, then start off with that big broad brush stroke across the top and try to bring that bead of water down, adding colours. Just use your pointer your brush round the edge of the figures for all the details.
So you don't use the plate, the place drawing. You don't use the plates. It's all in your palette.
Yeah, mainly I didn't use much on the plate. Just 3 big puddles on your palette's enough. So if anybody wants to just come and have a closer look at it before you start.
And you put the quinty onto those.
Started off with a big broad wash with the belly of the brush
With the yellow.
with the Quin Gold, then you can add the colours. Let the colours mix on the paper then.
It has to be bone dry. Mine's still a
Yeah, if your painting's still damp, we'll have to just wait, give it 5.
You don't wash your brushes, you just dip in the paints, don't you?
Well, yeah, but I'm trying to get individual.
No, yeah, but just have a bit of paper towel in your hand. If you can take any excess colour off your brush.
Right, and then go into the red.
Yeah. Drop some red in, then some blues, and just let it all mix together.
Okay.
Get it wet, a lot wetter. So you want a bead of water underneath the wash as it's coming down. Use the belly of the brush, big broad brush stroke. You just want to use the point of the brush just around the outline of the figures. You can use a round brush if you want, you know. That's good. That's it.
Don't mind if I do blue, I don't like brown.
You know?
Like this.
Okay. That's looking nice. You nearly caught up with me. Yeah, you're looking good.
Graham, I have a quick question from Elaine, who wants to know, is the quinacridone gold vital, or could she substitute, say, a raw sienna?
Yeah, if you know Quin Gold, you can substitute raw sienna. I think everybody's doing really well. Looking round, we should be able to do one figure before lunch, I think. Looking good. Yeah, you want to leave the highlight where the foreground path is. Just use the damp brush and lift it off while it's still wet. That's nice. Yeah. Over that. be all right. He won't notice that at the end of the painting. That's good. Yeah, we used to belly the brush, just dropping the blue in like that. Be a bit bolder with it.
Right, over there.
That's okay, yeah, good. I'll just get mine dried so I'm ready to crack on. Just going to clean the palette again before we begin the figures. I'll just talk you through the next day. We're going to paint the guy first, and then it should be lunch. I'll probably spend about 10-15 minutes, 10 minutes, say. Then if you can have 20 minutes, that should be just a time for lunch. Again, I'll be using the same brush, the 16 round, for the figures. We may use a smaller brush if needed, but we should be all right with just a size 16 round, I think. How's everybody doing? Everybody nearly done the background? Yeah, looking good. I'm going to change my water as well, I think. See my wife Pauline, my little helper. Anybody who's ever been to one of my workshops knows I'm a bit of a clean freak, I think. So for the next just up to the top of the bench we're painting. For this next, we're going to paint the man first as one. The next stage, and we'll just use the edge of the woman as well. That's our stopping point with the just below the bench and these two trainers. So that's about 10-15 minutes, I think. So I'm going to mix up a little bit of the Windsor, the lemon yellow. The Quin Gold. Can clean my brush. Permanent Rose. The Crimson. And both the blues, cerulean blue and the cobalt. So that's should have 6 little pools of paint on the plastic palette. And that's at the cobalt blue. So it's about 12:05, so I'll just better get cracking. Oh. So if we start on the man's head, I'm just going to dampen the top edge of his where the highlight is, because I want a nice soft edge. And then it's a little bit of that's the Quin Gold with a little bit of the crimson. I'm just painting, making sure I'm leaving the highlights where his glasses are. Again, this washes, they're all the same. They're little wet into wet washes where you're just leaving or adding, leaving little white areas that you don't want. And then a nice reflection, a bit of the cerulean blue on his forehead. It's a nice, cool reflection. Then you can a little bit more pigment. It's starting to dry, a little If you think it's gone too red, add a little bit of the blue and bring that down. So it's Quin Gold, little crimson. Again, just use the point of the brush around the shape of the woman's hat. Just clean the brush. I'm just adding a little bit of the cerulean blue mixed with the crimson, just for that. It's a nice. He's got a nice head of grey hair, I think. So. And then just where you dampen the paper, just add a little bit of that colour into the top of his head there. I'm just dropping a little bit more colour now. Just clean the brush before I'm going to add the nice shadow underneath his chin. Just some cerulean blue. And at the edge just add a little bit of the crimson. Now, I've done his t-shirt. I'm just going to work into that, the shadow of his forearm. Just the same flesh mix of the Quin Gold with the crimson. And a little cobalt blue with the crimson for the nice dark. Shadow area. A little bit of the same mixture for the shadow, just with a little touch of the crimson added. Or even the permanent rose for a nice little violet shadow underneath that side. Just drawing with the brush now. I'll just put a little touch of the cerulean blue and I'll just use a damp brush to soften the edge of that and just bring it. Same with that, just add a little bit of cerulean blue and join those two shadows. I'm just adding a little bit of the cerulean blue and the crimson, a bit more pigment, just drawing in a few of these nice shapes. For this shadow, just on his left arm, just dampen that area first with a clean brush. Then you can drop in a little bit of cerulean blue. And that's all you have to do really. And I can go straight now into working down the figure onto his other arm. Same mix of the Quin Gold with the crimson. And he has a little bit of the blue for the shadow right underneath his t-shirt. So it's again, you can, if you put just a damp stroke across that top of his forearm, then add the colour, you'll have a nice soft edge. Just dropping a little bit of cerulean blue, just now in the same mix of the Quin gold with the crimson into his hand. It's where that book is, his e-book. In fact, I'm just go right in, up into that book. Mainly a crimson, a touch of, just add a little bit of the cerulean blue with that. It gets a little bit dark and then it goes right into with the shadow. This is where you're just losing a bit of the edge on his hand there. This is what we want. Don't want to put on too hard a edge rather. Now, a bit of delicate drawing with your paintbrush, all his fingers and the little shadows. That joins up to the wet area you've just made. The mix of the cerulean with the cobalt with the crimson. So that's mainly the Quin gold. And I can just wet the brush and just, it's not too strong a mix down that leg, and I want a nice soft edge where that highlight is. Same on that side. Just wet the brush and let the colour run into that damp area, so it's a nice soft edge. It's just a matter of adding the mix of the cobalt with the crimson for his shorts. Again, this is where you've penciled in all those nice shapes, and you can just paint where the shadow is. Use a damp brush and just soften a few of the edges. Maybe add a little just crimson to the edge, and just use a damp brush, let the colours run into the shapes you've made with the brush, so it's a little bit more blue. A little bit of crimson. This goes right to her leg now. Nice shape. Quin Gold again with the crimson for this. Just add a little, stamp on your brush and just add a touch of the Quin Gold. Now just a damp brush to let that colour mix together and spread into the rest other side of the leg. Maybe add a bit more colour now. A bit of blue onto that dark, especially that nice shadow underneath his leg. Is real dark bit of blue under there. This is where the shorts join in with the bench now, so I just can use the crimson right across there with the blue. And for that little bit of the bench, it's basically the same kind of flesh mix for that bench, a bit more, probably a bit more crimson, but you just dampen the edge and let it mix up together. I'm going to come down into the shadow and just under the bench, round the two trainers. It's right across there, so I'm just drawing in the shape. And you leave in a nice, underneath the bench, the lovely reflected light, you're going to leave a nice edge. Just drawing round her leg, and then we're leaving a little bit of that leg of the bench, leaving a few little shapes. And just treat that area now just like the background area, so you can just wet it all and just drop in a few colours, lots of blue, maybe a little Quin Gold when it's quite dark. And then some just pure blue, cobalt blue towards the bottom there. For his sock, I'm just a mix of the crimson and a bit of the blue. Just paint the edge and then use a damp brush and just let it mix together. We've got a nice soft edge underneath it. And then there's a little bit of yellow as well underneath there. Nice reflected light. Nearly finished, so I'm just going to put the nice shadow on his sock. A little bit of just a little damp brush to drag that colour across. This is the shadow underneath these two trainers. It's a dark mix of all the three cobalt, Quin Gold, and crimson. So just add a bit of crimson and a bit of the blue. Maybe a bit more blue, and that goes straight into the shadow. Leave a few little highlights where the shadow's broken a bit, like that. And then just a little bit of Quin Gold on his shoes, trainers. Just where you touch the paint that's already wet, it's going to just bleed together, which is what you want. Just soften the edge a little bit. A little bit of cerulean blue, just to make it quite green in these trainers, aren't they? So a little bit of the yellow as well. And just a little drawing with the brush for the bit of the shoelaces. So that's the first figure done, and it's just about lunchtime, I think. Let's get blast on the air dryer. So basically it's just one continuous wash, one shape, going from the flesh down into the t-shirt, into the flesh again, into his shorts, the flesh, the background colour, the shoes. And at the end of the day, if we need any more detail, we'll use a smaller brush and put any little details in. But that's about the detail we want now on that figure, and then after lunch we'll do the, once you've done this figure, we'll do the woman and the bench as one big wash. Then for I'll have a look at the painting and then decide whether we want another wash on the background or maybe some more work on the figures. But I think it's looking good at the moment. Pauline? Are we having lunch now or?
If people want, we'll say cheerio to the people at home.
Yep.
And if anybody here wants to carry on and catch up with that figure, so we've got 90 minutes before we're back. So.
Yeah, if anybody wants to just do the male figure before lunch. Remember, it's a Quin Gold, crimson for your flesh tone, and it's add a little bit of blue for any shadow areas. Yeah. Then you're going straight into the t-shirt with a blue, and then it's
Let us bring out the artist in you. If you'd like to learn how to paint or improve your painting, the SAA is here to inform, encourage, and inspire you every step of the way. When you become an SAA member, you get so many benefits. including the free bi-monthly newsletter Paint, packed with inspiring step-by-step projects, fascinating articles, and detailed information to get your creative juices flowing. Discounts on over 13,000 art products featured on the SAA website and in the Home Shop catalogue, with free order line and free delivery in the UK mainland. A devoted SAA team on hand to answer your questions and give you the confidence and motivation you need to start painting and develop at a pace that suits you. Plus, a free welcome pack filled with gifts and practical help to get you started, as well as the opportunity to make friends with like-minded people.
Best thing about being a member is the inspiration from the magazines, to be able to purchase things at a very reasonable price.
Yeah, you get the reduction on all the materials, the advice you get.
I could shop from home.
It's a community.
It seemed like a very friendly sort of organisation.
If somebody's thinking of joining, don't spend too long thinking. Just join. They'll love it.